Hello, world. How are you doing? I am doing great. Welcome to Art of the Matter Live. We are here this beautiful Monday evening, May 30th, for episode 9. Can you believe it? We're at 9 already. Art of the Matter is the show by, for, and about artists that seeks to highlight the state of arts and culture, given where we are today in the world. I am your host, T-Dub. Thank you again for being here and joining us on this live show. We're gonna have a really dope show tonight. We got a couple really great guests. I'm super excited to have them in the studio. Black Media Matters Studio. We are here, we are live, and we are doing it. Of course, we got to get that wide right quick. So I'm on and go ahead and give them a little something. And catch the drip. No waves today. I got my hat on, as you can see, but don't worry, we'll be good by the weekend. Shout out to Christina Martinez and Al Basir, repping that diptych. Nice little lavender joint, keeping it simple, keep it cute. As always, I like to look good and feel good and, come with a good energy for you guys for these Monday shows for Art of the Matter. Absolutely. Okay. Now that we've done that, I want to let you know, you can like, share, and comment this show. Please let people know, your friends, our friends who are in the arts and culture that's going on right here in Seattle and abroad. Let them know what's going on. Let them know about Art of the Matter because we are trying to cover it all, right? All right, cool. All right. Now, we got that out of the way. Let's get into some art news. Yes. So, of course, as you know, The House of Wolves by Angelina Villalobos is on view right now at VMC Gallery on Capitol Hill. The next opening for that will be June 9th. So make sure that you check that out while you get a chance. Coming up next, we have Holla Back to the Future, Moses' son, curated show. He's got an amazing lineup of artists that are going to be holding it down at Museum of Museums. The show opens June 3rd, so make sure that you're in the building for that. It's going to be incredible. And of course, we have Aramis Hamer opening up the Zodiac show. That'll be happening June 4th. Make sure you are there. Man, art in Seattle is definitely going up. It's really great to see everybody out here doing their thing, holding it down. And of course, if you're out in the streets, make sure that you're consuming some art that's going on right here in the Emerald City. All right, so I think we got all that out of the way. Nice intro. We're going to get into the show finally. Of course, we have the episode 9 coming up a little bit later, but up next after this break, I am going to have the art homie, the man himself, Mr. Perry Paints, joining me right here live in the studio. Make sure you stay tuned. You are watching Art of the Matter.
Everyone's invited to the prom. From the creators of the Book of Mormon, Elf, and The Drowsy Chaperone, The Prom is a musical comedy about big Broadway stars on a mission to change the world and the love they discover that unites them all. The Prom makes you believe in musical comedy again. So full of happiness that you think your heart is about to burst. Everyone deserves a chance to celebrate.
On sale now. Tickets at fifthavenue.org.
Hey guys, Basic Gordon here, and before heading to Belize, Trey Holiday and I had to make sure we linked up with our good friends over at Market Street Shoes to, of course, grab a few things for the trip. From bags to socks, shoes, sunglasses, earrings, and more. Before going on any trip, make sure you stop at Market Street Shoes. Trust me, you'll find just what you need to make your trip not only enjoyable, but fashionable.
The truth with proof. If you nice with the sports, then he swooping through. He gon' highlight you. Ain't nobody live like us, fly like us. We gon' find you, put the city behind you. Let us know you got skills, we gon' be at a game. In the Northwest, we reppin' the city where it rains.
Yes, sir. Shout out to Truth for Proof holding it down on Tuesday nights. Make sure you tune in to his show. But of course, we are here this evening for Art of the Matter, episode 9 live show. But before we get into this episode, I wanted to tap in with my homeboy. He's been killing the game with the art scene and the music scene. So I had to sit him down in the studio and get to know what's going on in his world. We got Mr. Perry Paints with us. How you doing, bro?
Yeah, I'm doing great. Doing great. Working a lot.
Yes, sir.
But that's a good thing.
That's always a good thing. And I've been seeing, of course, we down with the VMC crew. So
hell yeah.
I've been seeing what you've been having going on. I definitely wanted to tap in with you and see, of course, that you moved recently to Las Vegas.
Yep.
But you're still doing a lot of work here as well. So how's that transition been for you?
It's been great. It's actually been really, really cool. I make probably like 65% of my income still here.
Wow.
But it's so much cheaper living in Vegas, and
Right.
it's so much accessible to LA and like Texas and even Phoenix. So it's like it's a great pool for me.
Definitely.
And it keeps me like still engaged in the community here. You know,
Absolutely.
I could definitely, if I would have moved, I could see that losing that essence really fast. So
Right.
it's kept me grounded. So it's been cool.
That's what's up, man. And you're from Tacoma, right?
Yeah. Spanaway technically, but I'm
Okay.
a Tacoma boy. You know
Remember
what I'm
the Tack
saying?
Town?
Yeah,
Most definitely. How would you say the art scene, because I know you're doing some stuff down in Vegas as well with a few different collectives. How does the art scene differ from here in Vegas?
Oh man, the graffiti scene,
Yeah.
Mural scene is pretty tight.
Dope.
I just got connected with this group called Graffiti Park,
Yes.
Las Vegas. They do a lot of stuff for the community, like painting murals for the elementaries and stuff like that. So I've done that already. They have a whole little headquarters that they all meet and like hand out different jobs and stuff like that. So it's really, really cool and connected there. But the music scene is kind of not existing
not
there.
as much.
Yeah.
I feel like you're going to change that though for me.
Oh yeah, I am on a mission, you know what I'm saying? I got some other friends that are also from Tacoma. We have a little hub now like in the art district there, so we're already making noise. So it's cool.
Snap.
They're like the Tacoma boys, you know,
yeah, so. There we go. That's exciting. That's what's up, man. Well, cool. So the folks who don't know about Perry Paints, this guy is not only a visual artist, but he also is a songwriter and a rapper, holding it down behind the mic. And you do the paintings live at your show sometimes. That is so crazy. So like, how did you come to like bring those two things together with your art?
So I would like be doing separate events. I was like in a group called Sleep Steady.
Okay.
And we were like a punk rap kind of group. And I paint, you know, very like airy, sensual, soft, you know, Black women stuff. So it was really hard to mix the two. But I would be live painting here, doing rap stuff here.
Right.
And then when I started doing solo stuff, I just kind of had the idea of like just trying it. And it just went over really, really well. And I just kept going on from there, you know? So it was really hard at first trying to mix both, because a lot of people were telling me like trying to be a rapper and painter is not going to work.
Right.
Not going to work. You can pick one of you're already absurd trying to be an artist, you know? It's already absurd trying to be a rapper. But yeah, it was just time to combine the two, and it's worked fucking well.
That's real. And that's
We're
definitely
allowed to curse on
interesting
here?
too.
I should ask you that.
What's up?
We allowed to curse on here?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, cool.
We
I just make sure, because I'll be
live.
going crazy sometimes.
No, it's all good. It's all good. It's live, baby. We out here. But you bring up an interesting point of like people having negative things to say about us trying to combine the hats. You know what I mean? So I think about, especially our generation, we have to wear a lot of hats just to survive out here. You got to have the 9 to 5, as well as your art got to be, you know, booming. You got to hustle. You got to grind. We got the grind culture.
So, and if you just got a 9 to 5, sometimes you need several of those. You know, like everyone's kind of got to hustle now.
Yeah, but I think like bringing the different art forms together is definitely a very revolutionary thing, especially doing them at the same time. Like you're on the mic and painting at the same time.
It's been fun.
I don't know who else is doing that, but I think like, especially when it comes to our generation with the creativity, we got to find new ways to, you know, manage that time. You know what I mean? So I think the way that you're doing it is super, super dope.
Oh, thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. If you have any hopes for like what you're doing with your art, what is the hope that you have for the future?
Man.
Like where do you see painting and rapping at the same time going for you?
That's a really good question. In all honesty, me being from Spanaway, my own real goal was to be like a bridge for other kids from where I'm from to have it. Because like there's no industry and none of that stuff there. And like if it wasn't for the internet and being savvy on that, I would have never had this life, you know, or even know it was possible. Like I didn't know my life was possible until I lived my life. You know, it's like, oh shit, you can do this. All right, dope. So like that's my main goal with that. But with the painting and rapping, I've also have like this goal of changing the stigma of being a rapper.
Right.
Because I've realized that too more of like when I mention that I am a fine artist, I get more of like this, he's an intelligent Black dude. Then when I rap, it's more of like every Black dude kind of do that thing.
Right,
you know?
right.
It's like it takes the same amount of intelligence and creativity to do both.
Right.
So that's why I'm happy that like people get to see that. And it's like, oh shit, like you could be a rapper and really be on some Picasso stuff, you know?
Right.
And just not have to just rap about owning it. You could be that. So those are my two main goals.
That's dope. And you're definitely setting the example, I think, because I don't know, like, do you know of any other artists that are doing what you do?
I don't. Sometimes I get a little arrogant and be talking a lot about that, but I take pride in that, you know, and it's hard and it's a blessing though. So
Yeah.
definitely blessed to be able to do it be respected on both fields, because it could
Absolutely.
be a gimmick, and that's the part I hold cherish to me is like I could be just a painter and be just as much respected. I could be just a rapper and be as respected. It's like not a crutch for either or.
And you get love from both sides.
Oh yeah, and it's great. It's
That's
great.
dope. Very cool. I always notice, like on your Instagram, you're always bigging up the youth, and you actually just did something at Rainier Beach High School, correct?
Yeah.
And you always like post like your nieces and stuff like that, and I
Yeah.
absolutely love that. And it's clear that the youth are a big important part of like what you do and how you represent.
Yeah, definitely.
Artists
Because
in the
like
world.
that's a lot of our traumas, our real personalities, all that stuff comes from that part. So like it was big on me. It said even just being a creative, needing to have that outlet and support. Like I come from a very, very dysfunctional family. And like luckily though, I did have the sprinkles of the support to do the creative stuff.
Right.
So I just want to say just keep being that fuel for kids to see that. Like, and it's kids are so cool. It's the pure essence and everything, the truthfulness.
Right.
Like they're hilarious. It's great. And it keeps me young. You know what I mean? What do y'all listen to? What y'all doing? It's fun. You know?
Yeah, that's definitely real. Like, I think it's definitely important, especially for our generation. I'm 35, so around that time, I don't have a lot of kids in my life.
Yeah.
So you have to put in that little extra effort to make sure that you're interfacing with the different generations.
Exactly.
And, being able to do that through art is always super, super fun.
Yep.
So, I commend you for that as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
'Cause I don't know if I want kids myself yet.
Right.
This.
You're doing good with the uncle duty, though.
Yeah,
most
I
definitely.
love Uncle Duty.
I'm team auntie all day too. Yes, sir. I appreciate that. Very cool. Well, yeah, man. Like, what else do you got coming up nowadays?
Oh man, so I'm about to put out an album.
Word.
I have been sitting on this album for a long time.
Oh, snap.
People have been on me about it. So I got the first single coming out June 10th.
Word.
Life of the Party.
Okay.
Like Scope over there shot it. You know what I'm saying? My homie Blake Anthony's in it.
Word.
Bullock's produced it.
Word.
I'm really, really excited. It's a very Tacoma album. All the features besides one are all Tacoma artists.
Okay.
The album will be out in probably mid-July, in July. It's really stoner, kind of old 70s, 80s vibes. It's really, really fun. It's gonna be dope. And then I got a release party for it July 30th at Lakewood Gardens.
Okay. Lakewood.
It's beautiful. It's gonna be cool. My birthday's on the 31st. It's my 33rd birthday. My third album. You know what I mean? We're gonna do it.
Numerology in
solo
effect.
show, we in it.
Yeah.
Those are two things I'm really working on. And I got an album, my second studio album. It's called Black Boy Joy. I've been chiseling away at that for like 2 years now, but that's my baby. That's my baby.
Okay. You heard it here first, folks.
Yeah.
Remind me of those dates one more time. You said single coming out
June 10th.
June 10th.
Art show release day July 30th.
Boom. Perry Paints, ladies and gentlemen. Go ahead and give the folks some info where they can find you right over here.
PerryPaints.com, you know what I'm saying? Perry Porter on Twitter, Perry Paints on Instagram, Perry Porter on Spotify.
Hey there, it's Trey Holiday. And of course, Besa and I had to take a trip back to Market Street Shoes to grab some items. They always know what to show us. And let me tell you, we both spent quality time to be sure we collected some amazing additions to our wardrobes. They have some of the most unique bags, shoes, and accessories. I mean, the whole shebang. It's always a good time when I get to shop with my girl Besa. Make sure you go check out Market Street Shoes, y'all, and you too can walk out with some dope gear.
Everyone's invited to the prom. From the creators of the Book of Mormon, Elf and the Drowsy Chaperone, The Prom is a musical comedy about big Broadway stars on a mission to change the world and the love they discover that unites them all. The Prom makes you believe in musical comedy again. So full of happiness that you think your heart is about to burst. Everyone deserves a chance to celebrate.
On sale now. Tickets at fifthavenue.org.
We're back.
Hey.
Guess what? This is live TV, you guys. Things happen, but we roll with the punches because we are creative. Okay.
Yes, we
And
do.
before we were rudely interrupted, Mr. Perry Paints here was letting us know where we can find him on the socials and whatnots.
Yeah, so it's PerryPaints.com, Perry Paints Instagram, Perry Porter on Spotify, any music stuff, Perry Porter Twitter.
Beautiful.
You know what
Thank
I'm
you so
saying?
much, Perry, for joining us in the studio.
Appreciate you, T.
I'm
This
glad
was
it's always
great.
good to see you back in town. I know you're holding
Hell
it down in the
yeah.
Vegas tip, but you right here with us. So
Yeah, baby.
all
We
good.
do.
All
You feel
love.
me? Yeah.
Most definitely. All right. Well, we're about to take another quick little break. And when we come back, we have featured artist Barbara Earl Thomas in studio with us right now. We're about to get into this episode 9. You are watching Art of the Matter. These hands bear fruit and witness through muscle and memory to that which cannot be taught. Passing down the blueprint of flowers and wringing waters from the root, bringing nourishment to the masses. There is no grade that can attain the heat that we sustain. A path unclear to most, and still we press on. We flip survival into revival again and again. Be reminded of where you come from, for life is the foundation of every generation.
The truth with proof, the truth with proof. If you nice with the sports, then he swooping through. He gon' highlight you. Ain't nobody live like us, fly like us. We gon' find you, put the city behind you. Let us know you got skills, we gon' be at a game. In the Northwest, we reppin' the city where it rains.
All right, welcome back, folks, to Art of the Matter, episode 9 live show. We are here at the Converge Media Studio, and I have the esteemed honor of being joined by our featured artist, Miss Barbara Earl Thomas. How are you?
I'm excellent. Very excellent.
Good.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, right?
You know, what's the alternative?
Right, exactly. Yeah, I don't know if this is an overshare, but it took a little convincing to get you down in the studio today. But I'm very, very glad that you're here. And of course, we're about to get into episode 9, which features Barbara. And I titled this episode, I like to talk about, I'll just subtitle all of the episodes. And I subtitled this episode, The Art of Making, because that to me is what resonated the most from our conversation. And, you know, being an artist, we have these ideas, and we talk about this in the show. We'll get to that in a second. We have these ideas about what art is and how we fit in the box of art. And you kind of flipped my mind on the whole thing of being like, well, I'm a maker. I make things. You know what I mean? Can you tell us a little bit about the difference for you?
Well, I think that the way I approach art and the way I approach the world is like there's a problem to solve. And I look at the problem, whether it's like, how do I want to make this space into something that I've transformed? That's a problem. So I'm going to solve it with some material, some aspect of my vision, and how can I make that happen? I'm always going for the simplest solution first.
Right.
And always, normally that works pretty well.
Yeah.
I think people overcomplicate things. And I find a lot of elegance and simplicity. And so I also, the reason I call myself a maker is because it's the nature of the problem that tells me what material I should use. So if it's a story, maybe I use words.
Right.
If it's something that's more, that needs sort of a visual pictorial, then I'll use a visual image. If there's something that requires both, I put them together.
Right.
And if there's something I don't know how to do, I go find people that know how to do it.
Right.
And I like to surround myself with, I like to say, people that are just a little bit smarter than me. And it takes a lot of energy to make sure you're staying on your game when you know you're surrounded with people that might be just a little bit smarter than you in something that you need to have done.
Absolutely.
So that's what I do. And then I just make, then I solve, I take things apart, I make mistakes, because if you're not willing to make a mistake, you're not going to get anywhere. 'Cause
Right.
that means you're just doing what you already know how to do.
Exactly.
So that's how you make.
That's how you make. And that, like, if you think about it that way, it's just like, why didn't I think about that? You know what I mean? But it's like, I would imagine that it takes, you know, some time and, you know, some experience, of course, to get to a place where, you know, you feel comfortable with flipping big things on their head.
Yeah, and also you're making relationships. And part of making the relationship, I get to learn what the people I bring into the studio know how to do. And then what I do, it's like I said, I think we talked about how, like if somebody in New York, when dance was before all the internet and all that, if a step happened in New York, someone would see it. And then they take it, and all of a sudden it end up in Atlanta. Then it would leave there, and then it would end up in the Midwest. Then it would leave there. And, you know, by the time it got to Seattle, you might not be able to recognize it, but it did travel.
It traveled.
And that whole idea is I'll see someone in the studio doing something like, oh, I like that move. And I'll pick that move up, and then they'll pick up my move, and it becomes sort of an amalgam of all of our moves together.
Yeah.
And I work with a wide range of people. My cutters have been between 16 years old and 75.
Oh.
So it's not about, you know, what subject they bring. It's whether or not they bring a hand, an eye, an open willingness to just jump in. And we make.
And I love that. You talk about the wide range of people that you have that kind of help you with your studio projects from 6 to 71. Is there a like difference for you in the way in which you guys communicate? Like, do you find that you have to be a little more hands-on with the younger people, or is there a difference?
That's a good question. You know, I don't think like that.
Yeah.
I give everybody the same tool. Give them a knife. Ooh.
Yeah.
People with knives. And I start to make a move, and then I just say, you just do the move I do. And invariably, their move will resemble what I've done, but it will be with their own mark.
Right.
Their own sort of spirit. It's like handwriting. And you start to see what people are capable of, and you go toward that capability. So it's not about how old they are, how whether or not they're an artist or not. It's the capability that they're bringing to you and their willingness to risk. And the first question most new people in the studio ask is like, well, what happens if I make a mistake?
Right.
I said, well, it's not if, it's when. And then we'll just deal with it. But your job is to try as hard as you can and be present. And then if something happens that appears to be not regular, it might not even be a mistake. It might be an opportunity. Who knows?
Right.
Yeah.
Very real. That is, if this is any indication into what this episode will be, like, you guys, I am so excited for us to get into this. Brady and I got to sit down with Barbara Earl Thomas at her studio and talk for hours about all things art, pandemic, the future, all of it. And this episode is really, really great. So before we get into it, you haven't seen it yet.
No.
So do you have any last words before we get into this episode?
No last words. I mean, you know, who knows when you're going to have your last word?
Right.
Who knows? So no last words.
Beautiful. All right. And on that note, we're going to get into episode 9 of Art of the Matter featuring Barbara Earl Thomas.
To work.
Yeah.
That's different from thinking about working.
Right.
That's different from reading about working.
Okay.
It's like you have to work.
Yeah.
And there's the only way you're moving your own needle ahead is by making. And also work to the point where you push yourself past the last success you've had. Don't limit your curiosity to whether it's just Black people that are making things. Who's making stuff?
Right.
And what about that stuff looks interesting?
Yeah.
And how can you use whatever that move is over here?
Right.
Can you use that?
Yeah.
Don't limit yourself.
we are here in Barbara Earl Thomas studio.
Welcome.
Yes.
Welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having us here, and thank you for sitting down with me and being a part of Art of the Matter. I immensely appreciate your work and your position as a Seattle-based artist, and I wanted to sit down with you and just kind of, see what's going on. So, I read a little bit about your bio and how your family came here from the South. I have similar roots as well. And so can you tell us about, a little bit of your journey?
I didn't come from an arts world. My parents, we didn't have I don't know if we even had prints in our house. We had things on the walls. We had, maybe religious things on the wall. Not that they were really religious, but that was just what you had on the wall.
Right.
I always tell people I'm a maker because I make things a lot. My dad was always tearing the house down and trying to build it back up. My mother was a sewer and an embroiderer and a crocheter, and so I was always making something, and not just for the fact of making it, but because you need this thing for your bed, you make it. You need this skirt for the deal, you make it. Right. Solving problems and solving whatever the issue at hand was, you did it. Right. And so I think that's where my impulse to make things has come from, and I think my parents were inventive and resourceful in that way. And I guess I'm very grateful to them, because I feel like, had I not had that kind of impetus and push, I might not be thinking about my process here in the studio as a problem-solving one.
Thinking about, the idea of being a maker versus an artist, and considering yourself a maker versus an artist, what kind of has been your introduction, I would say, to going from like embroidering a pillow or solving a problem to cutting paper?
Well, I think one of the things that I think that's been really important for me is, because I didn't come from this hallowed place of art, like, art is this thing that, geniuses make and all of that. I just knew that, that if you had an imagination, you could come up with lots of things. And I think the maker thing feels more comfortable to me. And also I feel like the nomenclature and all of that is really for the facility of the conversation, so that we can talk about things and have a shared idea. But the way I wear it, or the way you wear it, is in your life is not this. You put it on, you take it off, you leave it on the couch. You come in and you do a lot of failing, which I think is really important. You need to fail a lot. Not to the world necessarily, but to yourself. Yeah. You do it and you go like, that really didn't work. And that's what I think I try to hold on to in my studio. Now that they call it a practice, like I'm a doctor, but I guess that was new. Your studio practice. What is that? When did that happen? Right. And is that I will allow myself to take on something I haven't done before and be uncomfortable. What you don't want to lose is the desire to push your own limit and to see if there's some other thing that you can do that might better express your idea. But going from one medium to the next, I want to do is make sure that the medium I'm choosing is absolutely the best and most necessary for the thing I'm trying to say. Right. So if I can say it in paper cut, I'm not going to do it in glass. If I can do it if glass is what is required, then that's what I'm going to use. And that way I keep my channels clear. Right.
That's really cool. That's definitely like an interesting concept for me in thinking of the artist nomenclature as almost like an empty room of like everybody has these ideas about the facade of it. But once you kind of go in there, it's like, oh, I got to feel this joint, you know? And in thinking about, you know, how you spoke of like, you know, traditional art as being these like paint, sculpt, design, very like linear, like boxes. Yes.
Discrete.
And, you know, as that's evolved, people are getting more into different types of mediums and canvases and things of that nature, making sure that we're being mindful of the time we spend with those things and not just getting to a point where it's, oh, this is a little uncomfortable, I'm going to go to the next thing. You spoke a second ago about vocabulary and language, and I know that those are things that are very important to the art that you create. And, you know, in thinking of storytelling through visuals versus literal, how do those things compare or contrast for you?
Well, I think that whole idea of storytelling, it's really interesting because I know for a really long time in the art world, the high art world, the idea that you were using your art to tell a story was almost put you down here in the craft area. The part where the art is about pure idea, pure expression that's not describing something somehow in the real world. That is the highest, considered as the highest one. And then underneath that, you know, things sort of unfold. You can have, you know, sort of figurative, and you have, you know, abstract, and you have all sorts of things. But I guess where I'm getting to, it took me a long time to just say, you know what, I actually am a storyteller, and I've got to own that. And no matter where it falls in the line of the hierarchy of art and its value in the art world, this is what I do best. The person who comes, reads his or her own story into it, or makes up a story about it. People, I'll be in the gallery and I'll be standing there, and then people are like, this reminds me of, and they'll tell me a whole story. Is that what you were thinking? I said, you know, sounds good.
Yeah.
Sounds actually very good.
Yes.
And that's okay, you know? And when I did the show at SAM, the Geography of Innocence, obviously I had a specific story, idea, you know, this whole idea that we look at children, or we look at people of various races, and we have these ideas based on sort of a mythological assignment, you know, the color.
Yeah.
Dark means this in religion and mythological terms. Certain kinds of ways that people look, you're reading those things all the time because you've been taught to read them, you know? You take that into the racial world, and you have, you know, assignments to the children of, you know, the darker children are less smart, less cooperative, less whatever you think. And then you act that out, and then what the child does is reflect that back. It's not a debit, or what do you call it, something that you have to feel ashamed of. What you need to do is just be aware so that you can make that adjustment, so that you're not giving that child that message.
Yeah.
And so that's what that show was kind of about. And then how we read things and giving ourselves a chance to reinterpret before we made an assumption.
In Geography of Innocence, you deal with some pretty heavy subject matter in obviously a very heavy time with everything that we had going on the past couple of years. And thinking about children as the subject, and the mapping of when they lose that innocence. Having done this show, do you have any sort of like ruminations or answers to those types of questions?
No, I don't come with a lot of answers. I come with a lot of thinking about things. And I come with a lot of compassion for the human condition.
Yeah.
And with the idea that mostly what one has to do, if you were the object of that confusion, that you want to show the subject of that confusion how to think about it, so that they're not needing someone over here to make an adjustment so your life can go on. What I would like to know is, like, if this whole race thing was not an issue, what would you be doing? What would you be using your brain for? And I think that in a way, that is what we're being robbed of by being always wrapped up in having to catch up history and reintroduce how we are treated in history, or reintroduce how the story is told. We're not out using our great talents in other ways in the world that we might, you know.
How has the pandemic treated you?
The pandemic has just been, I remember just being here in the studio when we first heard about it, and there were 4 of us here, and we'd been cutting on the Sam show. I was, you know, we were all trying to figure out, is this going to be 2 weeks or a month? But that it was very contagious. I got so hysterical that I started to vacuum. I just ran around with my vacuum, somehow thinking that my vacuum
was going to help.
And so I was vacuuming with zest. And for whatever reason, I opened the refrigerator and just stuck the nozzle into the refrigerator, and there was a half a stick of butter, and it went up into the nozzle of the vacuum. Wow. And I thought, I think this is the moment. Yeah. And so I think that that's a perfect example of just like, when in doubt, do something. Yeah. Even if the something has nothing to do with the problem at hand. You know who this is?
I do not.
It's Elizabeth's dad.
Oh.
Charles.
Wait, there's a picture of her. Hold on, let me see.
Right over there.
Boom. And boom. Yes, I see it.
Yeah.
I see it. Yeah.
And that's August Wilson.
Oh,
because August and Charles were really good friends.
Wow.
So I wanted to do them both because it would be nice to have them be together in my show, and also in the Sound Transit project.
Right.
And because they both did titles that have movement in them. Charles has done Middle Passage, and August, 2 of his plays, one called Jitney, and the other one, 2 Trains Running. And there you are on the platform with trains. So I thought that would be really nice to bring them back together. And then it gives me kind of a way to get to think about them, because they've both been really important in my life, and their work has been really important. So this is a way to think about them. So I'm not putting their names on them, I'm going to put their book titles. So for people who know, they'll know. People, that's what I like. I like the idea that there's a way for people to decode based on their level of, their own knowledge. If you know about those works, then it'll look different to you. If not, you'll go, that's a beautiful guy with those books, and those words seem so interesting. I don't know what they mean, but they sound good.
Yeah, and maybe you'll go find out.
Maybe you will. In here, but the design, I'll say, like I said to Peggy when she was here, I said, these sunflowers are going to be in the center. They're going to be the center, and these sort of other flowers are going to be on the edge. So that's the defining thing. And then we'll just move them around, put them in here, so I could tell her to do something here, or to do something here, or to leave that blank because I want that to be blank. And they just do it. And sometimes it doesn't work, so I have to, if it doesn't work, then I do surgery. Cut it up and take it out, and that's the fun. So part of what happens is, this is my palette. All these,
man, I am the biggest fan of gradients also.
Printed, hand-printed color. And so,
how do you print these?
I have my printer, Sheila Coppola, and we've done a lot of prints together. So I told her, I said, what I want is just for you to do a split font, roll it, make it really thick and make it go out. And then I can cut this up and I can move it around so that the color appears, the light appears to move from here to there. Cut that out and, build it up, and so that I can say, I want the light source to come from here to go down like that. So, and that's how I build my compositions, and it may take 4 layers here because I'll put the orange underneath and I'll cut through so that the orange shows underneath. And so it's both intuitive and very calculated. But, again, you're using color theory and you're using light and dark, in terms of value systems and density of hue. And that's the part where I'm happy that I know about it because I don't have to make it up every time I do it. Don't keep rediscovering the wheel. So, it's a process and it's a meditation, but it's also a little bit of terrorizing of yourself and a challenge. Throwing it down and going, okay, can I do better today? Can I surprise myself? I feel like I want to make things that are much bigger than I am, and I can only do that if I have other people who work with me, because it would take me too long to have cut that room, any of those rooms all by myself. And I learned more about collaborating, working with glass, because you can't do glass alone. You have to have someone helping you, and it's like theater. Tell yourself the truth, whatever your truth is. Tell yourself the truth so that you don't get yourself confused about what you're doing. And if you want to see what you're doing, you look at your work. Don't look out there at what people are saying about you. Look here, and you look in your life. That's how you know what you're doing. And even if you're getting great reviews and great God, you're just so, that is a byproduct of the work. That is not the work itself. Finding your own way of feeling good about your work and being successful. And like you said, the perfection thing, I think that's what kills a lot of people. It's both ends. It's either you're putting it out there and you think everything you do is perfect. Jeez. Or you think that nothing you do is good enough, so you can't put it out there, so you're just like, okay, it's not perfect. I have friends like that. I said, oh God, please. What doesn't get corrected here will get corrected or addressed in the next piece. That makes me happy, and makes me happy when my friends come over and we're loud and we misbehave.
Love those times. Those times. Well, again, thank you so much for today. This has been incredible conversation and learning and sharing.
I can't figure out how you're gonna edit all this.
We got our ways.
You have your ways.
Yes,
definitely. You have your ways. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, dear.
Appreciate it.
Hey there, it's Trey Holiday. And of course, Besa and I had to take a trip back to Market Street Shoes to grab some items. They always know what to show us. And let me tell you, we both spent quality time to be sure we collected some amazing additions to our wardrobes. They have some of the most unique bags, shoes, and accessories. The whole shebang. It's always a good time when I get to shop with my girl Besa. Make sure you go check out Market Street Shoes, y'all, and you too can walk out with dope gear.
Everyone's invited to the prom. From the creators of the Book of Mormon, Elf and the Drowsy Chaperone, The Prom is a musical comedy about big Broadway stars on a mission to change the world and the love they discover that unites them all. The Prom makes you believe in musical comedy again. So full of happiness that you think your heart is about to burst. Everyone deserves a chance to celebrate.
On sale now. Tickets at fifthavenue.org.
The truth with proof, the truth with proof. If you nice with the sports, then he swooping through. He gon' highlight you. Ain't nobody live like us, fly like us. We gon' find you, put the city behind you. Let us know you got skills, we gon' be at a game. In the Northwest, we reppin' the city where it rains.
All right, we are back. Art of the Matter Live, episode 9. We just witnessed the incomparable Miss Barbara Earl Thomas. Man, that episode was pretty great. How do you feel having seen that?
Well, I think they did a really great edit.
Yes.
You know, the art is in the cutting.
That is true. That's true. Shout out to Brady McAtee on the filming and the edit. Appreciate you as always. One of the things that really stood out to me in rewatching that episode is the fact that there aren't any screens in your studio.
Screens?
Computer screens.
Oh.
You know what I mean? Like, I feel like a lot of artists nowadays are we become, kind of fixated on our digital media. And I feel like watching you cut paper and I've cut a few things myself in my day, and I know it's a very physically taxing art form. And I'm sure that there are people that'll be like, well, why don't you just do it digitally? And what do you say to that?
Well, it could be an age thing. I don't know. But I think as a maker, I like to figure out where I can have my hand in it.
Right.
And it's not to say that I don't use, like I say, I have other people come in and help me. So their hands are kind of connected to my hand.
Yeah.
I actually will make things, they'll get digitized and then they'll go cut them in steel or cut them in some other form. But the original thing, where I'm thinking from mind to eye to hand, I like to see the hand in the work. And there's just something that for me gets lost.
Yeah.
And you mentioned about screens.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not that I don't have my computer there, but I close it.
Yep.
And I turn my phone off. And even then I feel like a rhesus monkey because you're going over, tapping it to see if somebody said something.
Right.
And so I put myself on a diet. I said,
Yes.
you can look at this at noon and you can look at this at 4:00. And if somebody dies, there's nothing travels faster than bad news. Somebody that's gonna find you and tell you.
Right.
So I just count on that. And because it interrupts my concentration. And to me, the magic happens when you actually go into the work and you really concentrate and you don't have one ear over here and your eye on the screen. And I really have to fight it. I'm human. I want people to, I don't know what it is, but you want it.
Yeah.
And so I just turn it off.
Yeah. Kudos to that discipline. Because I know, self-included, I have a really hard time, addicted to the scroll. I think we all are in our own way, shape, or form. So, creating that discipline in your practice is definitely important. So it's something to think about if you're an artist watching this and you're wondering why you have, writer's block or, painter's block, whatever the case may be. It might be your digital intake. So something to think about. And looking at the episode, I mean, we talked about a lot. And like you said, a lot of stuff ended up on the cutting room floor. One of the things that we definitely got to discuss was the pandemic. And, during 2020, during Corona, you were actually working on 2 major shows.
Well, 2 shows and 2 large projects.
Yeah. So it didn't make the episode, sadly, but can you tell us what that experience was like for you?
Well, it's interesting. I woke up. It's like being in the twilight zone. You wake up and everything looks the same. Your chair is where you left it, but nobody is where you left them. And I'm pretty used to being by myself. So being by myself in the studio was not something astonishing to me.
Right.
But I think what was astonishing to me was not having at my disposal when I could invite someone in and to know that they could come and it would not be a danger to them or to me.
Right.
Especially when we were trying to figure out, where the danger was. So we just stopped everything. And I just would get up and I'd go to the studio. When I was in the studio by myself with the music on, but I was always aware of the silence, especially that silence, those first few months where, planes weren't flying as much, and you'd go outside and, people were crossing the street when they'd see you. Because I told you, people were confused about what it meant
Very much so.
to isolate. So people got confused. They thought, like, I'm going to isolate. So that means I can't even look at you.
Right.
So you walk down the street, people go,
turn away.
They turn away. I said, no, that's not how, no.
Yeah.
You can say hello, you can wave. You don't have to not look at me. That's not how the virus is
spreading.
It's spreading by how you look at me. And
Right.
if you look at me, trust me, I'm not going to run over and hug you.
Right.
But I also found that, it's interesting because a lot of especially my younger friends, I realized they were really worried about me. They were worried, like, okay, do you have food? Should I bring you things? Are you okay? And it's like they really didn't want me to die. And I thought I don't think I ever would have learned that another way. They just didn't want me to die.
Right.
And so they come and leave shit on my porch. And I said, so now I got to lose weight because they brought so much stuff on my porch. And everything that they brought over there, they brought it and I ate it.
Right.
And so Chieko would bring things to put on my porch. And, Peggy and my neighbors, everybody was just, call me up. Are you okay? Have you eaten? God.
Yeah.
I have eaten everything.
Right,
and
right.
so, but they wouldn't say it, but I felt like that was the message underneath. You're in that, the category of people for whom this could be a truly dangerous thing.
Right.
And we just want to make sure that you ain't dead.
Right.
And I just didn't know how to, I just said, oh, okay. So I guess I got to be well because they're going to be so freaked out if I die.
Right. Hey, if that ain't, you know what I mean? Real talk. Like, we need you here. Like,
and I was touching and,
Yeah.
and I felt like I'd look out the window and people would come and they'd just stand out by the porch and they would just wave at me.
Right. I mean,
it was, it even makes me kind of tearful just because it's
yeah.
what happened.
Right.
And people that I didn't even know that well would do it. I said,
Right.
okay.
Yeah. I mean, you get what you give. And I feel like you give a lot to the world over the career, your art career, you've given a lot. And, through writing, lecturing, painting, sculpting, glass, whatever.
Bossing people around,
whatever the case may be. Like you've been here and you've been a fixture in a lot of people's lives. So I definitely want to say before we get out of here that I appreciate you as a person and you as an artist. Uh-oh, you got a phone call?
No, I turned
Who
it
is
off.
it?
I turned it off because it was in here, but because I turned it on so that I could text Peggy.
No worries. We live, baby. Miss Harriet Walden is actually in the comments and she just left a comment speaking to your ability to storytell. So I wanted to make sure I shout out Harriet Walden in the comments there.
Hi, Harriet.
Yeah. Can you tell me, because you talked about it a little bit in the episode, how the hierarchy of storytelling when it comes to art is notched a little lower if you think about the classical forms. Can you tell me the importance of storytelling for you in your work?
Well, I think the storytelling is mostly important, not so much for my viewer necessarily as for me.
Yeah.
I think that we all tell ourselves stories because, quite frankly, life makes no sense.
Right.
It really makes no sense. The fact that, you get up in the morning and you put your clothes on and you eat breakfast and then you make a story out of that.
Right.
As though that was part of the arc, that is going to make a story. Then I got in my car and then I came down to the studio and then I met with Takai and then I met these two lovely young people here that was somehow a storyline. It's not a storyline. It's nothing. It's like a bunch of separate, desperate kind of actions. And for us to make sense of our lives, we want to say that there's causal relationships, like this and this and this happened, so therefore this other thing happened.
Right.
I walked, I talked, I was walking and I stumbled, I fell down, I hit my head. And then when I hit my head, I went to the doctor. Then they found out I had, some sort of horrible disease and they would never have found that out had I not fallen down. So there's a story there.
Right.
Not really, but, we make it so that we can make sense of the chaos and we can make sense of, so we can calm ourselves and not be afraid. Because if you have a story about your existence and in that you put and you have a meaning in it, then you're not so afraid that you don't know what you're doing. And mostly we don't know what we're doing.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty much, and I think you asked me about, what I think in terms of when the pandemic hit, I'm pretty comfortable at sitting with ambiguity.
Yeah.
And actually not knowing and understanding that I don't know.
Yeah.
And I think that that's part of like our dis-ease. Everybody wants to know, like, well, we're mad about why we don't know what to do with the mask and why don't we have a way to tell everybody when it's going to end?
Right.
Because we don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know.
Right.
And it's not because we know and we're keeping it from you.
Right.
We don't know. And people get mad about that.
They do.
And, I think that it's human, but sometimes when you hold the mystery and just sit with it and you realize you come out the other end, that there isn't, it's not as scary as you think, just to not know.
Yeah.
And it's an honest answer.
That's real. I think that's definitely another one of the things that I take away from, having the opportunity to sit with you in studio and film this episode. It's like being okay with that, being okay with the ambiguity.
And not coming to like honor me and make me into like the what do you call me? What do you call me? The ancestor or whatever that was.
Right.
So we ain't doing that.
No, we keep it real. Absolutely. No, but I think that is definitely another thing that I really appreciate about you, and like being a person that I can look to for, what things could look like, you know what I mean? And being like, hey, it's going to be all right. Whatever you end up doing, whatever it looks like, you're going to be okay. And it's like, it's dope to have examples like that in the world.
Well, I think that, and there are lots of examples. And also I tell people, I actually am very involved in the process, but also the thing that kind of sometimes rules my behavior is the outcome I want, the outcome. You do something, you piss me off. The outcome is that I want to still have you in my life. So that will decide, that will shape what my response to you will be, because I want you in my life.
Right.
So I'm not going to do or say something that's going to necessarily extinguish that.
Right.
I might say something that allows us to have a discussion about whatever the issue is, but my goal will never be to extinguish that, that connection.
Yeah. And that takes awareness, folks. Practice your awareness in your life. Absolutely. Miss Barbara Earl Thomas, thank you so much for joining us in the studio for the live episode. I appreciate you.
Well, I appreciate you as much. And I thank everyone for all that cutting and all this coordination and everyone here in the room with us. And you know what? Let's just get up and make it up. Make a story.
Let's make a story. All right. We're going to take a quick break, and then I'm coming back with some final thoughts. You're watching Art of the Matter.
Everyone's invited to the prom. From the creators of the Book of Mormon, Elf and the Drowsy Chaperone, The Prom is a musical comedy about big Broadway stars on a mission to change the world and the love they discover that unites them all. The Prom makes you believe in musical comedy again. So full of happiness that you think your heart is about to burst. Everyone deserves a chance to celebrate.
On sale now. Tickets at fifthavenue.org.
Hey guys, Besa Gordon here, and before heading to Belize, Trey Holiday and I had to make sure we linked up with our good friends over at Market Street Shoes to, of course, grab a few things for the trip. From bags to socks, shoes, sunglasses, earrings, and more. Before going on any trip, make sure you stop at Market Street Shoes. Trust me, you'll find just what you need to make your trip not only enjoyable, but fashionable.
The truth with proof, the truth with proof. If you nice with the sports, then he swooping through. He gon' highlight you. Ain't nobody live like us, fly like us. We gon' find you, put the city behind you. Let us know you got skills, we gon' be at a game. In the Northwest, we reppin' the city where it rains.
What's going on, folks? We are here at the end of the episode. I want to thank you again for joining us for the live show. I hope you enjoyed episode 9. It's been a super honor and a pleasure to have Miss Barbara Earl Thomas in the studio with us, as well as Perry Paints, holding it down. Before we get out of here, I want to make sure that you guys know that you can comment or contact us on social media. So make sure you contact us on Instagram. You can hit me up on Instagram at TDub Customs. You can contact Art of the Matter directly if you have some ideas about artists we should feature, if you have some ideas about art news that we should feature, and things of that nature. Make sure you get in touch with us here at Art of the Matter, as well as Converge Media. And finally, before we end this show, I got to let you know, of course, episode 10, look who we are featuring. Miss Aramis Hamer is premiering June 13th. It's going to be an amazing June. We got a lot of stuff going on in June. I'll let you know about that on the next episode. You can catch me here every other Monday for Art of the Matter. You can also catch me every Friday for Feel Good Friday with Trey Holiday, where I'll give you the art news, let you know what's going on the art scene and things of that nature. But until then, I want to say thank you again for joining us for the show. I appreciate you guys for tuning in, and stay creative. I've been T-Dub.
Converge Media produces culturally relevant content for Black and urban audiences. Our coverage is raw, transparent, and objective, praised by community leaders, government officials, and residents. Support Converge Media today via Venmo, Cash App, or PayPal at Converge Media.